Okay. Right. So let's go ahead and call order with roll call, please.
Kokavich, Essick, Dixon,
Yes.
Bronner,
Yes.
Lyle,
Yes.
Kerrigan.
Yes.
And now, minutes to the September 29th minutes. Is there any additions or corrections?
I move we dispense with the reading and approve the minutes as distributed.
Second that?
Moved and seconded, we dispense with the reading of the minutes and approve them as distributed. Any further discussion? Roll call on the motion? Or is that a roll call vote? No. All in favor of the motion? Approving the minutes as distributed? Sorry, there was some meetings and that's a roll call, and others it's not. So, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay. Visitors, any visitors from council tonight? Okay. The media is here, thank you, Muskingum University TVs and John. Reports then. Solicitor, Scott?
Thank you, Greg. There's a few things that I've been working on, but I think it's probably better to report in executive session.
Okay. Any questions for the solicitor out of the executive session? Okay, thank you, Scott. Police Chief, Chief Hayes?
Thank you, Mayor. For September, we had 35 total offenses, which is pretty normal. Last year, we had 32. Nothing too far out of the ordinary there. Our calls for service was down just a little bit slightly. A few things just weren't logged because of a computer issue in one of our cars. So those numbers are a little off. But pretty much normal month for us. We did have the high school homecoming parade, which went off without an issue. These parades are hard to get all our officers in here, make sure we get all the traffic shut down and stuff, but they did a great job. It really helps to have those guys step up. So I do want to, again, thank my auxiliary officers. Had a lot of people ask us about our stranger danger class that we do. This year we're going to partner with Zane State College and OUZ to use their facility and help them with their stranger danger program, so we'll combine. It's going to be October 23rd at 6:30 p.m. at Liddick Hall over on the Zanesville campus. We're going to invite the kids to come in costume. We'll do a stranger danger presentation circled around Halloween safety. Do a costume evaluation. Okay, you can't see out of your eyes, it's not safe. Little things like that. Play different games, and we'll have a bunch of public safety people there as kind of the celebrities. The Muskingum County Sheriff's Department will be there issuing the child IDs. These ID cards are pretty cool. We keep getting our kids updated all the time, so it's amazing how you look at one 6 months and 6 months later how different your kid looks. So it's always good to get that done, and those are free as well. So it's good for us to be over there. It gives us more space. We've done it in the library here a couple of times. And it's just, we get so many interests that we kind of have a really cramped space to try to put that type of presentation on. So that's why we decided to help them out this year and combine that. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. I talked in the safety committee about additional funding for an SRO. So hopefully we'll be bringing that to you real shortly. And then I've started our grant to get us some possible funding for body cameras. That'll cover 90% of that project's funding. I should have all that money, the extra 10% just within my regular budget for capital improvements, as we've done in the past with that type of grant. So it's nothing I'll need to bring with you guys, but hopefully I can get it. And will definitely save us some money in the long run. So good chances of getting that again as well. So.
Any questions for Chief Hayes? Thank you, Chief Hayes. Fire Chief, Chief Gates, where did the Chief go? Go into my report then and hopefully catch up with the Chief in a minute. I don't have any correspondence of note. We decided in our last meeting to observe Halloween, not on Halloween, but on the 30th between 6 and 7. Residents who wish to participate in that can have their lights on, those that don't, lights off. And we'll be observing that the 30th from 6 to 7. Council meeting schedule, our next meeting will be the second Monday of October. And I think we'll... November, sorry. We're already in October, November. And I think we'll probably need to do some, have a safety meeting. And there may be some other meetings that we need to call with some of the stuff on the agenda that we may need to take action on. We've had a couple staff meetings. I'll let Charlotte report on those. So that's all I have for my report.
I actually have a question for Chief Hayes, if is it okay to go backwards on the agenda for a second? I know Muskingum homecoming is coming up, and I wondered whether there are any special arrangements for that that are needed even.
Just our regular parade. It's nice having the high school in first, because then we're ready for that one on Saturday morning. Unfortunately, I won't be here. I get to go to the high state football game that weekend's first one I ever get to go to. So I'll miss it, but I got people coming in my spot, so we'll be prepared for our traffic and just prepared for the weekend. Hopefully we don't have any problems, but we are prepared. We got extra officers coming in.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yep.
Special.
Yep, we made those steps already.
Thanks.
Okay. Infrastructure, safety. Robert?
All right, thanks, Greg. Infrastructure and safety had a combined meeting tonight, went over several topics. First being, we have discovered or rediscovered that there's potential that there's some of our alleys that are unidentified. So we're in the process of some of our unnamed or unknown, doing some research, making sure that they're not named, that they are, possibly coming up with ways to, in the future, name them. A lot of that's for safety reason for our police department, fire departments, when they get calls, that they know actually where it is they're going. So we will be following up with some of our unidentified or unnamed alleys. We also had one of the professors from Muskingum University visit with us. Has one of the freshman political science classes are looking to do some surveys and do some human interest type work for us. So we're going to maybe look at some ways that they may be able to help out with some surveys, and that would probably be door to door. Again, if they're going door to door in the community, they would have some a letter or some type of identification and a survey in hand to kind of go over some human interest kind of things. We also went over some visibility issues that are concerns on 3 of the alleys there on North Friendship, being Montgomery, Thompson, and then the unnamed or unknown named alley in between. So we're going to get with ODOT, maybe get some input from them on how to maybe make that a safer area right there around that traffic light or safety light. And also one of the property owners has agreed to allow us to trim back some of the shrubbery there and maybe give a little better view going in and out of that alley and Montgomery. We also had some tree committee issues. There's a dead tree on Garfield that there's concern that it may fall into a power line. So we will reach out to the electric company and see if they may want to remove that tree and then follow up with that. We also have a couple more either dead or dying trees right here in town, right in front of Earl's and in front of John's Barber Shop that we're going to look to have removed. And then the replacement of those trees also. And then we just followed up on some of the couple of the other trees that have been removed and where we're at as far as replacing those trees. So we do want to try to continue with tree replacement every time one's removed. We do want to replace it even if it's not in the same area. So we want to make sure that we're following up with that. We had a quick update from the police department and the fire department's chiefs, which they'll both give their reports tonight. And also just kind of a quick update on the Safe Routes to School project. That will be continuing in the spring, and for the most part that'll be going up the west side of Lakeside Drive, connecting the village with the schools on their Safe Route to School project. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Any questions for infrastructure? Safety?
The sidewalk will be on the west side of Lakeside Drive?
That's my understanding.
So there will be a sidewalk on both sides of Lakeside Drive?
Part of the sidewalk doesn't go all the way up on the east side, it's just part way.
Right.
Yeah.
So they'll just be one on the west side.
So it'll be extended on, okay.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Finance Committee? Nothing? Policy Committee,
We did not meet.
Fiscal Officer.
Thank you, Greg. The balance in our bank accounts at the end of the month was $319,659. I have, there's a packet of, there's a financial statement and a revenue statement. These are going to be, I'm going to give these to council every month. It's a recommendation of the auditors. It just kind of shows a little bit more control. And I would ask that if, you know, you can look them over. They're very detailed. This is what I prepare at the end of every month. If you have any questions, please email me, call me. We can set up a time. And I can go over all the, there's a lot of information. So yeah, I would just ask, and we will continue to do this every month. So just kind of look them over. So I'll just kind of look at tonight. And then I'd be glad to go over with anybody.
I wonder if there's a way then we could direct that to our finance committee, because it's really hard to
Actually,
digest this massive amount of
I
information out of
agree.
context. I think that's
Greg,
really not too practical.
The
That's not your
auditor's-
fault.
The auditor's suggestion was the entire council. It's, I mean, we can definitely do finance.
What we could do as a suggestion for material that we give to council every meeting is buy some big binders for every council member and the mayor and, you know, staff who are here every time, and just replace these, so every
How about
meeting we
emailing
put it in there.
Yeah, just
Now we're not
electronic.
killing
Okay.
trees, but
About emailing?
have something that we can,
Could we, could we email them, the council, along with the other materials that Charlotte is sending, so that we don't have to kill trees? Spend a
Absolutely.
lot of detail. I mean, this is gonna run, our copy will fill up. It's just, and I mean, council's free to, I don't wanna keep information from council, but,
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll just include it as an attachment for the minutes, the agenda.
That'd be great.
That'd be good.
that'd be great.
And that's something that, if there was anything that needs our attention drawn to it, you would tell us what that is within each of these
Yes.
reports, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Probably through the finance committee.
Through finance
I mean,
committee,
The
yes.
finance committee should be dealing with
yeah.
that.
Anything unusual,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry,
Things.
Lynn, I didn't
No,
mean to-
thank you. No, that's fine. Thank you. The only other thing, our income tax receipts are up around 15,000 year to date, so that's good.
He's good.
That's all I have this evening.
Any questions for the fiscal officer?
Yes, is the new income tax software in, and is that helping?
We are
Or is it
working
too
on
soon?
that.
So it's in process,
Yeah,
okay.
we're in process with that.
So that'll make a
That
big
is-
difference in 20,
We're starting fresh with that
Great.
software. So.
great, okay.
I think it might be good to make sure we get a finance committee sometime between now and our next council meeting to contemplate the auditor's reports and issues, what actions we might take with respect to that, and also I think we talked about some budget things that you might be talking about in a minute.
Okay.
Maybe good to get our finance committee going at some point here pretty soon.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
Administrator, Charlotte, welcome, first official report.
Thank you. So monthly water sewer plant reports, you know, I spoke with Chris Hubner to get an update. I said flows are good, there have been no compliance issues, everything's quiet, and from what I'm being told, quiet is good. So if there's a problem, I'll know, everyone will know. But he said that things are going well. The projects have an item for projects. We've got a lot going on with the South Friendship Drive Corridor Development Plan and everything going on with that project. You all have received the EMH&T visual preference survey, and if most of you have filled it out, so I appreciate that. And if you're late, get it back, that's fine, the consultants can add it in. But that will help to really solidify some of their recommendations for those standards in that project area. We're also changing some things around internally. We just today had our first regular leadership team meeting with all of the department heads and Greg to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of what's going on, month-wise, anything that we can collaborate on as a team, things that we can work on with council. I think that it's going to be a really productive meeting once we really get started and everyone can share their information and get in a groove on it. I'm also working with our employee benefit brokers to review the employee benefits. We have till December 1st to get all that information and those decisions made. So I've got them out looking at things and trying to get us the best deal for where we are right now, so that our employees are taken care of as best as possible. It'll probably be incremental steps this year, but we've had some discussions about doing some really innovative things next year or the year after, but it'll take some time. So I think right now is really just bumping up those benefits and keeping our costs down, but making sure that our plans are good.
What committee of council would normally deal with that? Would that be yours?
Policy? Okay, as soon as I know something, because right now I don't really know anything that I can share. So as soon as I know something, that would be a good place to bring it. Tree City USA application, that hasn't started yet, but I've been in contact with our rep who knows the ins and outs of it, because I don't, and John knew it by heart, so I'll be working with her. I have a note on my calendar for next week to call Ann. So that will be starting, and I'll get a good dose of that whole process. I'm excited about that. John Maroney and his crew have been working on a leaf removal schedule. We're going to be testing it out this year to try and push it out to our residents and show them what streets we'll be doing leaf collection on, and asking that folks please not park on those streets during a certain time period of the day. Maybe Montgomery Street is Tuesday. I don't know how it'll work out, but we're going to try and push that out and see if we can be a little more efficient with our leaf collection. We'll also, the information will have directions on where to put your leaves and things like that as well. And then lastly, the 2015 budget development. I really, for my own comfort level and hopefully just to get things going, we'll be starting budget a little earlier this year. So I've asked folks to look through their budgets and give me some cost estimates and some prioritized wish lists and things like that by the end of this month. And then we'll have some individual conversations about where we are budget-wise, what we can do, and get a draft put together so we can give it to council in December for some review and discussions around that, and hopefully that'll give us enough time to, by the beginning of 2015, be able to pass it. And that's my update.
On the leaf removal, I think it might be a good idea to use next door New Concord to alert people when they're coming, so people have their leaves raked out. So maybe and I know that sometimes you have to change the date on those because of the weather and all that, but it's a kind of a real quick way to get word out to people that you plan to be on this street or that street on a certain day.
You might want to include in that email about the bag.
Not bagging the leaves. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will.
I think along those same lines, Charlotte's talking with some folks about recrafting how our website and our Facebook presence can be refreshed and updated, and she'll probably be having something for council to consider making steps in that, and along both of those lines to see how we can be more effective. And so I think we'll probably be seeing something on that pretty soon.
Good.
Any other questions for Charlotte? Just from my perspective, I know Charlotte is just barely keeping her head above all the crush of stuff. Like she mentioned earlier, we've got a couple of really major projects that are kind of at an inflection point on, including like our innovation committee and our street lighting project and our safe routes to school. And so we've got a number of really important and exciting projects that are on Charlotte's plate. She's trying to sort that out while she's trying to understand how the basics of the village work. So, but just from what I've seen, there's some exciting ideas about how we can use the skill of our staff in new and different ways, and even just communicating within our on our teams will be kind of exciting. So looking forward, Charlotte, to knowing how we can get geared up and hopefully make it so you don't lose all your patience before it's too late. So thank you for your patience while we get spun up here. Any other questions for the administrator? Okay, old business.
I'm back now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had to take
Sorry,
a call.
Chief.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Chief. That's all right.
I had to do the job you guys paid me to do. Okay. We didn't let any grass grow underneath our tires again. You see, we did 16 fire calls for the month, bringing the total to 190 compared to last year, to 143 at the same time. So, you know, we kept busy. The EMS, we did 105 runs for the month, bringing the total up to 794 compared to 650 last year. And you see the year to transport's 530 compared to 452 last year. So the big thing is simultaneous runs was 30 in the month of September. We actually covered all but 2 of those. We actually ran out of people. Simultaneous runs are happening 20% of the time. When we go out on one call, we get 2, 20% of the time, but we're covering 98% of them, which is a good way to look at it, where we can't get a second crew or we can't get a third crew. Twice in the month of September, we had all 3 of our ambulances running. We actually had the reserve one was able to man it. So we're covering the majority of our runs with the personnel we have. But we're just, you know, last night, the crew had one run early Sunday morning. Nice quiet day for them. At 7:30, we had 4 runs. You know, we had 3 squads. You know, there was 905s coming back and took a second run. We've got 903 out. Because 903 was going back in service. 905s coming back from the hospital. They got another run. So, you know, it's just been a weird months for that for us. So.
Are you seeing any changes in the pattern of the sources of the runs? Is it still the same locations as usual? Or is
Yes.
one area increasing over others?
No.
Okay.
There's no increase anywhere. You look at the totals that we're superstitious.
The last page of
Yeah.
this report is really informational that way.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
But I tell you, we have some areas in the village. We have 3 or 4 areas in the village where we make a lot of runs, and I won't mention them because every time you mention them, we're superstitious. We end up with a run there. Okay.
Chief,
But we have two establishments that deal with the elderly. If one of them has a run, the other one's going to have a run, and it happened today. So they trade back and forth for runs. So
Chief, it looks like you had, of your 16 fire runs, half of them were false alarms. Is that,
the false alarm takes a lot of things into consideration. A couple of them were caused, like at Finney Hall, cooking.
yeah.
And they had the kitchenettes in Finney Hall, and they actually had to shut them down. They moved the foreign students in their cooking, and they had at college. We come to an agreement. We changed some heat detectors and smoke detectors. We changed some sensitivity that I agreed to allow them to do. But now we're going to go in and build some more exhaust fans, so we don't have that issue with the smoke. Because Finney Hall has a very modern fire alarm detection system. And they had trouble too, I think, smoking. And I hate to go on camera and everything. You're teaching the foreign students they can't smoke in the buildings.
So were most of the 8 calls at Muskingum?
Yes.
It looks like.
Muskingum had 7 of them. So I can tell you that Muskingum actually had 5 of them.
Okay.
And they were, and very honest with you, the one we had to remove the smoke a couple times.
Okay.
So, but that's, I'd rather much run up there for a false alarm than have the others. I don't want to be jinxed myself here.
But ideally, since the run volume is increasing so substantially, every time we make a run on a false alarm, we're taking away resources that might be available for a legitimate run someplace.
Yes,
So,
that's something that my crew and we're thinking at all times, that they're aware that, let's say there's 4 of us, and we take 3 on the engine, the medic chases us 1 person, and as soon as we get there and we know it's a false alarm, we man the medic again. We reverse, we're very quick about deploying our resources, what manpower we have available, so we can cover that second run.
Chief, are you still constraining the number of runs you personally make? Are we still in bounds with respect?
It has to be that second run or that fire run. Yes, I have a life, yes, I do.
I want to make sure.
I do have a life,
the
yes.
objectives that we have.
Yes, and I do get more sleep now than I ever did.
Okay.
I don't go to bed till about, you guys are, I'm usually in bed by now,
Okay.
so I'm not getting up till 4 in the morning, so we're good. I used to get up at 4. We need to get down here by 5 or 5:30 to get started, so.
Okay.
So, but I guess you got the Christmas parade, and I missed the last Board of Trade meeting. I know Charlotte attended the Board of Trade meeting to request the Board of Trade to introduce herself to members of the Board of Trade. I know they're already in the full swing of getting out our pamphlets and everything else, and we've already had the same discussion. We'll be lining the Christmas parade up at the East Muskingum Middle School, and the walkers and everything will be at the community bank, community commons area parking lot for the walkers. That it's such a well-lit area. It's been so much safer the last 2 years we did it there compared to the warehouse. And really coming down 83 has no effect whatsoever. It moves pretty quick and pretty easy, and we have better control of the parade. So we'll be at the same spot. You know, we can put them around there and people can drop off and go. It's well lit and there's a lot more parking. The issue at the warehouse, you know, they couldn't stop their business. You know, it's hard to line up a parade with 50 or 60 trucks moving about. So, but it's in full swing, and it'll be the first Monday after Thanksgiving.
Is there anything, John, we need to do, just since Charlotte, this first time Charlotte's been through this, is there
Everything's ordered and should be coming in on time.
Hey, John, you'll make sure that something, we always did it, because I usually hunting during the day, but I come in, but we just get the sign from EMA and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, get the sign and some other items that we have in here, so. Trailer out front for the speaker, things like that.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief. So we're ready for old business now. The second reading of Resolution 11-14-1, resolution authorizing historic site support.
So
Motion.
move on the second reading.
Moved by Rob. For a second.
Second.
Second by Bill. Any further discussion? Roll call on the second reading of Resolution 11-14-1.
Dixon?
Yes.
Kerrigan?
Yes.
Bronner?
Yes.
Lyle?
Yes.
Resolution carries. Any new business? Approval of bills.
Move to pay the bills.
Move we pay bills.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Jen. Any further discussion on paying the bills as listed? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Announcements. Our next village council meeting, November 10th at 7:30. Please check your calendars. If it looks like you may not be able to make that, let Charlotte know sooner rather than later. Because we probably will be having some legislation we may have to pass by emergency. And it'd be good that we've got enough folks here to do that. So, we have also a planning commission meeting scheduled for November 20th, and that'll be kind of important, so as you try to mark that one down on everybody's calendars. We'll be dealing with some issues likely of annexation and also with some proposals with respect to planning and zoning on Route 83 and I-70. Some of our EMH&T work may be presented at that time for consideration then by probably policy committee. So ultimate, there may be some recommendations the council will need to act on or consider based on recommendations that come out of EMH&T and planning commission.
I want to bring up something related to this, which we've talked about sort of on the side, but I just want to make sure it's clear. At earlier meetings, we talked about having council sort of on the circulation list for planning commission, just so we know what's going on. And I think that might have fallen through the cracks, at least partially. And what I'd like to suggest is that we are CC'd on anything that is other, obviously if it's confidential and unrelated to council, no, but for normal memos of information about schedules and also any updates that go on in between meetings, is it possible and feasible for council to be copied on those?
I think as long as we can, but we have so many things, Jennifer, under construction that may kind of clog things up.
I don't want to do
And may
that.
also provide some misinformation if it's
Okay.
in the midst of consideration.
Yep.
So we need to have free channels to talk between
Mhm.
us and EMH&T as we're preparing for legislation for the planning commission. But
Mhm.
if it goes to planning commission in general as a commission,
Yes.
it's not unreasonable for council to see that
Good.
as well.
And that's
I
all I
think
meant. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
yep,
absolutely.
yep.
Just
We
the
should
general
do that.
information would be great.
We
Thanks.
should do that. Yeah, I mean, it would
No,
really.
not in terms of process.
It's really gonna be great to have council in that planning commission meeting too, because we may need to be prepared to move pretty quickly on some things, and it'd be great if we could start getting council's thoughts on some of these issues that are coming before us, because there's a lot of pressure coming from some developers that wanna move pretty quick on some of that. And we hate to miss opportunity because we weren't able to act promptly to stay ahead of the wave. There's a wave that's developing
Yeah.
on a number of fronts.
It's important.
So, yeah, that's why that November 20th is kind of important. And we'll try as best we can to keep council in the loop on stuff that's coming down the pipe. So,
Thanks.
Yep.
Great.
So policy and finance committee meetings prior to November 10th. So if the chairs of those, I guess Jen, if you and Steve could touch base with Charlotte to coordinate when those might be. Okay. Okay. Shannon has been kind of scheduling those, and there's a little tool out there called Need to Meet that presents some alternate meeting times. So you may see that link come from Shannon or Charlotte that will likely give you 2 or 3 options. So that's really a helpful tool because that way we can use it to find the most common meeting time. So she'll probably throw out 3 or 4 meeting times at you. If you could take a second just to quickly check it, it sends an email automatically back to Shannon or Charlotte, and we'll know what the best meeting time is. So you might see some of those emails coming through from
Great, thank
Shannon
you.
and Charlotte. So I think that's all on our agenda except for going to executive session to discuss legal matters.
I make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call on the motion to go into executive session.
Dixon?
Yes.
Lyle?
Yes.
Bronner?
Yes.
Kerrigan?
Yes.
Motion carries. Just for the public that are here, I would not expect any action coming out of council after our adjournment. So let's take 7 minutes and stretch, and then we'll reconvene in executive session in 5 or 10 minutes.
So before the 25th.
Yeah.
we need